India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to travel to Nigeria, Brazil and Guyana from the 16th to the 21st of November. Will attend the Rio G20 Summit on the 18th and 19th of November. India and Russia discuss trade, economic, scientific, technological and cultural cooperation at the Intergovernmental Commission meeting in New Delhi. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh calls for a collaborative approach to deal with contemporary challenges, highlights growth in defence exports at the first edition of the Delhi Defence Dialogue. Trump appoints Elise Stefanik as his UN chief and Lee Zeldin as the administrator of Environmental Protection Agency. Rubio is tipped to be the Secretary of State as per reports. UN Chief Antonio Gutteres calls for stronger financial commitments at COP29. It was day 2 of the major climate conference. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Nigeria, Brazil and Guyana from the 16th to the 21st of November 2024. Prime Minister will visit Nigeria from 16 to 17 November 2024. This will be the first visit by a Prime Minister of India to Nigeria in 17 years. During the visit, Prime Minister will hold talks to review the strategic partnership between India and Nigeria and discuss further avenues to enhance bilateral relations. He will also discuss and address, in fact, a gathering of the Indian community in Nigeria. Prime Minister will travel to Rio de Janeiro during the 18th and 19th of November 2024 to attend the G20 Summit. India is part of the G20 Troika along with Brazil and South Africa and has been actively contributing to the ongoing G20 Summit discussions. During the summit, the Prime Minister will put forward India's positions on various issues of global importance and build on the outcomes from the G20 New Delhi Leaders' Declaration and the Voice of the Global South Summits, which were hosted by India in the past 2 years. Prime Minister will visit Guyana from the 19th to the 21st of November 2024. This visit to Guyana will be the first by an Indian Prime Minister since 1968. During the visit, Prime Minister Modi will hold discussions with President Ali, meet senior leaders of Guyana, address the Parliament of Guyana and also address a gathering of the Indian diaspora. In Georgetown, Guyana, Prime Minister will also participate in the second CARICOM India Summit and hold meetings with leaders of CARICOM member countries to further enhance India's long-standing friendship with the region. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and Russia's first Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov co-chaired the 25th session of the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, Technological and Cultural Cooperation in New Delhi on Tuesday. The EAM, Jaishankar, was confident that India would achieve a trade target of $100 billion before 2030.
There have been challenges to trade, especially in regard to payments and logistics. Perceptible progress has been made in that regard, but there is still some work to be done. Our joint endeavors in regard to connectivity, such as the International North-South Transport Corridor, the Chennai-Vladivostok Corridor, and the Northern Sea Route must go forward. We will also be discussing cooperation critical for our food, energy and health security. Russia has emerged as a major source of fertilizers for us. Its supply of crude oil, coal and uranium are indeed important. Similarly, India's pharmaceutical industry has emerged as an affordable and reliable source for Russia. Looking ahead, we are also exploring the mobility of talent and skills. Customizing them for the Russian market has to be a shared enterprise. Excellency, I am confident that we will achieve the trade target of $100 billion by 2030, well before that.
Minister Manturov confirmed Russia's strong commitment on signing a free trade agreement between the EU and India, as well as a bilateral agreement on services and investments.
Over the last 5 years, trade turnover of our country has grown more than fivefold, and India is now the second country among all the foreign economic partners of Russia. The positive tendency is maintained this year as well. Over the first 8 months, the trade turnover has grown by 9% as compared to last year. We confirm our strong commitment on signing the free trade agreement between the EU and India, as well as bilateral agreement on services and investments. This fully meets the needs of our business community.
Rajnath Singh, the Defence Minister of India, has called for adopting a collaborative approach to deal with contemporary problems at the first edition of the Delhi Defence Dialogue. Rajnath Singh highlighted the progress that India has made in defence exports, and he believes that India holds potential to be the drone capital of the world. DD India's Anil Thomas reports.
The Delhi Defence Dialogue has started with its first edition. Addressing the inaugural session, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has stressed that the government is creating adaptive defence in India to deal with emerging challenges. Adaptive defence is not merely a strategic choice, but a necessity.
Adaptive defence can only become a reality when it is also a reflection of the collaborative defence. This event will help us analyze aspects of the jointness and integration as part of the proceedings.
The Delhi Defence Dialogue theme is adaptive defence, navigating the changing landscape of modern warfare. The Defence Minister lauded the transformative changes the sector is going with defence export to over 100 nations, with the top 3 destinations for defence export in 2023-2024.
India is already exporting defence items to over 100 nations, with the top 3 destinations for defence exports in 2023-24 being the USA, France and Armenia. We hope to achieve the target of rupees 50,000 crores worth of defence export by 2029-30. The publication of the multiple positive indemnization list further emphasizes the government's commitment towards self-reliance. These lists include numerous defence items that will no longer be imported, thereby encouraging their domestic production.
The Delhi Defence Dialogue is a flagship platform of MP IDSA for addressing the multifaceted challenges of defence and security in India. As the landscape of warfare becomes increasingly complex, the platform is designed to discuss the evolving landscape of international security and defence strategies, with a focus on India's defence. With Anil Thomas in New Delhi, Syed Afsarul Hassan for DD India.
And besides Susie Wiles and Tom Homan, the US President-elect Donald Trump has made 2 more appointments on Monday. Elise Stefanik as the UN chief, or as his UN representative, the ambassador to the United States, and also the role of Nikki Haley. That's the whole role that Nikki Haley had played, in fact, in the first administration of the Trump government. Now, Lee Zeldin is also going to be appointed. He is appointed as the Administrator of Environmental Protection Agency. Reports also suggest that Trump has zeroed in on Marco Rubio as the Secretary of State and Mike Waltz as the NSA, though no official word has come from the Trump, either he has mentioned it on any other form or not. Now, this report is a fact check, actually, or a fact box of who's who and who's likely to get what in the administration.
US President-elect Donald Trump has begun choosing his cabinet and other high-ranking administration officials. Among the early picks and top contenders for some of the key posts overseeing defense, intelligence, diplomacy, trade, immigration, and economic policymaking. Whilst one of his two campaign managers will be his White House chief of staff, supporters hope she will instill a sense of order and discipline that was apparently lacking during Trump's first term. The former acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Tom Homan, will be in charge of the country's border. Trump said Homan will be in charge of the nation's border, including but not limited to the southern border, the northern border, all maritime, and aviation security, including the deportation of immigrants in the US illegally. Trump announced on Monday that Elise Stefanik, a Republican congresswoman and staunch supporter, would be his ambassador to the United Nations. The 40-year-old representative from New York State became a key Republican when she was elected to the White House, replacing Liz Cheney, who was ousted for criticizing Trump's claims of election fraud. Trump also announced on Monday that former Congressman Lee Zeldin would be his administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. Zeldin has accepted the role. Zeldin, who is 44, is a staunch Trump ally and hails from New York. He will play a key role in implementing Trump's stated position on overhauling U.S. energy policy to maximize record-high oil and gas production by rolling back regulations. Apart from these appointments, there are several names doing the rounds as potential contenders for key posts. Some major news networks have reported so far. Marco Rubio has been tapped for Secretary of State. Rubio is a U.S. Senator from Florida and is also a top Secretary of State contender. His policies closely align with those of Trump. He has long been involved in foreign affairs in the Senate and is an important Latino voice.
Because together with Donald Trump, we are going to make America not just great, but greater than it has ever been before.
It has also been reported that Mike Waltz has been picked as the National Security Advisor. A former Marine, Waltz has established himself as one of the foremost China hawks. Among the various China-related bills he has co-sponsored are measures designed to lessen U.S. reliance on critical minerals mined in China. There are 4 contenders for the post of Treasury Secretary. Scott Bessent is a long-time hedge fund investor who taught at Yale University for several years. John Paulson is a billionaire hedge fund manager and a major Trump donor. He had told associates that he would be interested in the job. He is a long-time proponent of tax cuts and deregulation. Larry Kudlow served as the director of the National Economic Council. Now, he's an outsider shot because publicly he and Trump advocate the same tax policies. Robert Lighthizer had served as U.S. Trade Representative for most of the Trump's first term and is certain to be invited back for either of the top jobs at the Treasury or the Department of Commerce. Linda McMahon, a former Small Business Administration Director, is seen as the front-runner to lead Trump's Department of Commerce. McMahon is the co-founder and former CEO of the professional wrestling franchise WWE. Mark Green is seen as the potential Homeland Security Secretary. The former Army flight surgeon is the current chair of the House Homeland Security Committee. His supporters describe him as a Trump loyalist and an immigration hardliner. Chad Wolf is seen as potential Homeland Security Secretary. Wolf served as Trump's acting Secretary of Homeland Security for roughly 14 months and carried out Trump's hardline immigration policies. However, he did resign after the Capitol riots. John Ratcliffe is seen as a potential CIA director. The former congressman and prosecutor who served as director of national intelligence during Trump's last year in office is seen as a both contender to be director of the CIA or attorney general. Kash Patel is a former Republican House staffer and has frequently appeared on the campaign trail to rally support for Trump. Some Trump allies want him to be the CIA director. Mike Lee, a U.S. Senator from Utah, is widely seen as another top candidate for Attorney General. Like Vance, he was an initial skeptic but later became an unwavering ally, and he's now seen as an intellectual hero among Trump's supporters. Supporters also keenly watching to see what roles Trump would assign to key faces on the campaign: Vivek Ramaswamy, Tulsi Gabbard, Robert Kennedy Jr., and Elon Musk, called in social media circles as the Avengers. Bureau Report, DD India.
What's to come here on DD India News Hour? Navin Ramgoolam is set to become the Prime Minister of Mauritius for a fourth time. New Zealand's Prime Minister apologizes to children who were abused while in the care of the state or religious institutions. Russia claims advancing fronts. Ukraine reports blocking Russian offensive. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. The Conference of Parties 29 continued their deliberations for the second day in Baku, Azerbaijan. The UN Secretary General Gutteres said that developing countries must not leave Baku empty-handed and a deal is a must. Now, something, in fact, that the Turkish president has also hoped for. Azerbaijan's president has reminded the world that every natural resource is actually a gift from God. And Britain said that the goal of 1.5 degrees is aligned with the UK's goals for growth. DD India's Mahir Makuri presents us with the day's report.
Tuesday marked day 2 of this year's COP29 World Climate Action Summit, which is being hosted by Azerbaijan in its capital Baku. Representatives from 200 nations gathered with one critical goal of raising hundreds of billions of dollars to fund a global transition to clean energy sources and limit the climate damage caused by carbon emissions. Leading the charge for climate action at the summit was UN Chief Antonio Gutteres, who made a passionate plea for stronger financial commitments.
COP29 must tear down the walls of climate finance. Developing countries must not leave Baku empty-handed. A deal is a must, and I'm confident it will be reached. We need a new finance goal that meets the moment.
Host country Azerbaijan used the summit as a platform to lash out at Western critics of its oil and gas industry. However, Azerbaijan also raised eyebrows during the summit when its president defended the use of fossil fuels.
It's a gift of the God. Every natural resource, whether it's oil, gas, wind, sun, gold, silver, copper, all that are natural resources. And countries should not be blamed for having them and should not be blamed for bringing these resources to the market, because the market needs them. The people need them.
Amid these contradictory views came an encouraging announcement by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer to cut the UK's greenhouse gas emissions by 81% from 1990 levels by 2035.
At this COP, I was pleased to announce that we're building on our reputation as a climate leader, with the UK's 2035 NDC target to reduce all greenhouse gas emissions by at least 81% on 1990 levels. Our goal of 1.5 degrees is aligned with our goals for growth.
Tuesday also saw participation by Turkish President, who expressed hopes that the parties at COP29 will reach a financing target that will support the needs of developing countries. As the COP29 summit continues, the world remains focused on the tough negotiations ahead, with world leaders navigating the fine line between energy security, economic interests and the urgent need to combat climate change. Mihir Makri reporting for DD India.
A Dutch court on Tuesday accepted Shell's appeal against a landmark climate ruling dismissing the order for the oil and gas company to sharply reduce emissions. The original 2021 ruling ordered Shell to cut its absolute carbon emissions by 45% by 2030 compared to 2019 levels, including those caused by the use of its products. The appeals court in The Hague dismissed the ruling, although it said that Shell has a responsibility to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to protect people from global warming. A climate activist group called the Friends of the Earth Netherlands, which brought the case in 2019, said that it would continue its fight against large polluters. The 18th Prasar Bharati Divas will be held from the 8th to the 10th of January 2025 in Odisha. Its official website was launched in the presence of India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and the Chief Minister of Odisha, Mohan Charan Majhi. Now, the Prasar Bharati Divas celebrates the contributions of the Indian diaspora. It will take place in Janata Maidan in Odisha's capital, Bhubaneswar. The event is expected to bring together members of the Indian diaspora, facilitating discussions on key issues and opportunities for collaboration. The former Prime Minister Navin Ramgoolam is all set to return as the Prime Minister for a fourth time in Mauritius. He regained that office after the defeat of the incumbent Pravind Jugnauth's party. The cost of living crisis was one of the main concerns for the voters. Jugnauth has wished his country good luck.
Opposition leader Navin Ramgoolam is all set to become the next Prime Minister of island nation Mauritius for the fourth time, giving a major shift in the country's political landscape. The final results showed the opposition alliance, the Changement, led by Navin Ramgoolam, winning 62.6% of votes. The coalition claimed 60 of the 62 legislative seats. Supporters of opposition coalition leader Navin Ramgoolam celebrated the anticipated victory ahead of the official announcement.
We are watching a significant moment in the history of Mauritius. The last 10 years under the outgoing government have been quite tumultuous, marked by numerous scandals, corruption, and rising public dissatisfaction. Many citizens are frustrated and feel that their government has failed them.
Earlier, incumbent Prime Minister Pravind Jugnauth conceded his defeat.
We are heading for a defeat, and it is even clearer that the LEPEP alliance is going towards a big defeat overall. I did what I could for the country and the people. The people choose another team to run the country. Of course, you have to accept this choice. You have to respect the choice. I wish my country and the population good luck.
Ramgoolam, who is the son of the man who led Mauritius to independence in the year 1968, was the Prime Minister from 1995 to 2000 and won the office once again in 2005 to 2010. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated Mauritian leader Navin Ramgoolam for his victory in the country's parliamentary election and said that he looks forward to work closely with him to strengthen the special and unique partnership between the two countries. Jugnauth had promised to raise minimum wages, increasing pensions, and reduce value-added tax on some goods. He also negotiated an October agreement for Britain to cede the Chagos Islands while retaining the US-UK Diogo Garcia Air Base. But his successes and promises did not appear to have swayed the voters, with some of them wanting a new direction. Tripti Tripathi for DD India.
Well, Germany is set to hold a snap election on February 23. The Social Democrats, the Greens and the Conservatives have reached a compromise on the date of the poll. The timing of the confidence vote still remains open, though. Opposition parties want a vote, in fact, as early as January. But the Chancellor Olaf Scholz has warned that the January vote would overstretch the electoral authorities during the holiday season, leaving parties unprepared. Scholz, who runs a minority government with the backing of the Greens, hopes to secure enough opposition support to press laws and to pass them through to protect the Constitutional Court from the far right and also to fund Ukraine before leaving office. Russia on Monday announced that its forces have continued to push forward on different fronts, while Ukraine has claimed that their army, they have been holding back positions and stopping the Russian army from advancing. The Russian Defense Ministry said that the Russian forces continued to advance on different fronts and took control of settlements in Kolesnikovka and in Kupiansk. While the General Staff of the Ukrainian forces, they reported that Ukrainian forces had engaged in 125 clashes with Russian troops on multiple front lines as of Monday afternoon, repelling multiple Russian attacks in Kupiansk and Pokrovsk, in Kurakhov and other areas. North Korea ratified a defense treaty with Russia pledging mutual military aid in case of an attack. On Tuesday, North Korea's state media reported that this defense deal was signed by the leaders of the two countries in June, with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un signing a decree to ratify the pact on Monday. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has signed the treaty into law stipulating mutual assistance. The announcement came at a crucial time amid growing international concerns over military cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang, with North Korea having sent its troops to Russia to support its conflict with Ukraine. New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon has formally apologized to more than 200,000 children and adults who've suffered horrific and heartbreaking abuse and neglect when in state or faith-based institutions. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay brings us more.
New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon has formally apologized to victims of abuse in care homes, following an inquiry into one of the country's biggest abuse scandals.
Today I'm apologising on behalf of the government to everyone who suffered abuse, harm and neglect while in state care. Today I make this apology to all survivors on behalf of my own and previous governments. You deserved so much better, and I am deeply sorry that New Zealand did not do better by you. I am sorry that you were not believed when you came forward to report your abuse. I am sorry that many bystanders, staff, volunteers and carers turned a blind eye and failed to stop or report abuse.
The Royal Commission of Inquiry spoke to more than 2,300 survivors of abuse in New Zealand, which has a population of 5.3 million. The inquiry detailed a litany of abuses in state and faith-based care, including rape, sterilization and electric shocks, which peaked in the 1970s. Luxon also announced a National Remembrance Day to be held on 12th November next year to mark the anniversary of Tuesday's apology.
Today I'm announcing a National Remembrance Day will be held on November 12 next year to mark the one-year anniversary of this apology, and this will provide us with an opportunity to stop and to reflect on what you have endured and to ensure that we are doing all that we can to prevent future abuse.
The historic apology delivered in Parliament comes after a report found that 200,000 children and vulnerable adults had suffered abuse while in state and faith-based care between 1950 and 2019. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
Well, still to come here on DD India News Hour. We'll be discussing the options and challenges for those making the cut to the Trump cabinet.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to travel to Nigeria, to Brazil and Guyana from the 16th to the 21st of November will attend the Rio G20 Summit on the 18th and 19th of November. India and Russia discussed trade, economic, scientific, technological and cultural cooperation at the Intergovernmental Commission meeting in New Delhi. Trump appoints Elise Stefanik as his UN chief and Lee Zeldin as the administrator of Environmental Protection Agency. Rubio is tipped to be Secretary of State as per reports. And Dr. Swasti Ra, who is an expert on foreign affairs, joins us and to throw light now on the cabinet really, or as it's being formed, of the US President-elect Donald Trump. She's joining us from Poland. Thank you very much, ma'am, for being with us. Now, in his first term, Trump had to remove a number of his key officials because they didn't respect the presidential office. Now, what would be the main criteria for his selection this time round?
I think it is looking very clear, as the days go by, that, for example, when it became very clear that Nikki Haley or the ex-Secretary of State Mike Pompeo would not be joining his incoming administration, I think it became very clear that he is probably looking more at loyalty. So the kind of names that we've been discussing now are people, and I think, in fact, it was in October when Trump had said in a podcast, right? And was it the Joe Rogan Experience? Okay. Where he actually said that the biggest mistake of his previous presidency was picking, and I quote, bad, disloyal people, and I unquote, to join his administration. So I think his second administration is expected to be widely different from the last. And the key criteria that I see out there perhaps is going to be about loyalty. So the key posts would probably see more Trump loyalists than anybody else. And this is now becoming clear as we now see how the days are going by. So,
but Dr. Rao, if I can come in here, there is a lot of lobbying that's going on for candidates who have contributed a lot to the campaign. So, I mean, they're also expecting some quid pro quo.
Yes. I mean, of course, like I said, that when you say loyalists, I think you're basically talking about how, the politics in the US have unfolded over the last, during the presidential election campaign. So I think that is very clear. And I think I was also going through the kind of people that he has picked up. And I think if you see how the list looks, if you see so far, I think the White House Chief of Staff is Susan Wiles. It's very clear that perhaps become the first woman to serve as the White House Chief of Staff. And if you look carefully, I think she is credited with launching a bold campaign for Trump that was able to attract some Black and Latino voters in his victory. So, of course, since you mentioned the people who have been in charge of maintaining and running his campaign and successfully is something that I probably saw in her, picking. And when it comes to the National Security Advisor, of course, there's been so much speculation on who the National Security Advisor would be after Jake Sullivan, and I think Trump has chosen Mike Waltz, who again is a retired National Guard officer. He's also a 3-term GOP congressman from, I think, Florida. So he has been, again, this is interesting because he has been gaining attention for advocating a very hawkish policy on China. So with him becoming the National Security Advisor, one does see what Trump's policy is going to China is going to unfold like. And he's repeatedly expressed concerns about China's aggression in the Indo-Pacific. So this is something which is eventually going to also reflect on how India is positioned in the Indo-Pacific with respect to China, with respect to the US overtures. And by the way, Waltz, I don't know how many of the viewers know that Waltz was also the co-chair of the bipartisan congressional committee, congressional India caucus. I mean, there's an India caucus out there in the US, which is credited with having, to do most of the work around the foreign policy towards India. And he has championed deepening ties with India in defense and security cooperation. So as far as from, India is concerned, I think this is a welcome step. A China hawk is somebody which by default is will make more sense for India, but ultimately we are going to be seeing how this would evolve, because Walz is now going to be responsible for briefing Trump on several key national security issues, and he will also be coordinating different agencies. Similarly, internally, of course, there's, Tom Homan that he has picked up as the borders are. So not something which directly can.
Interesting term that he was used. But ma'am, also, what roles do you see for Vivek Ramaswamy and Tulsi Gabbard? After all, they were very active on the campaign, and they are part of those, what social media calls the Avengers.
So, well, I mean, we would still have to see if he's going to get a senior role or not. I think as far as Vivek Ramaswamy is concerned, Donald Trump has praised him as very smart, of course, and he also said that he's going to be a part of something big. But and I think if that happens, of course, it would be a welcome step in India, because Vivek Ramaswamy is not just a very proud Hindu, but also a kind of a person who has made very clear what his ideas on the geopolitics are. So I think with Nikki Haley's doors being shut on Nikki Haley, I think Vivek Ramaswamy may get a senior role, but I would not know what really that is unless it's out on the paper. So I would expect that Vivek Ramaswamy would be again, because he also would be given some sort of it would rather depend, Mark, on what really he gets. So that is something that I'm also keeping my my eyes on, as to what really he becomes a part of. But as far as being consistent in his own style of politics is concerned, I think that is something which is very, very clear. Similarly, hello?
Yeah, I was talking about, what about Tulsi Gabbard, ma'am? Tulsi Gabbard?
Hello?
Can you hear me? You can't hear me.
Hello? Could
I was asking you also, what about Tulsi Gabbard on the roles of Robert Kennedy Jr. and Elon Musk?
Oh, okay, all right. So, okay, there was some lag, in the video. So you were asking about Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, so I mean, exactly. These are names that we've been actually watching with a lot of interest, because of course, I mean, she's also Indian origin, and we would like to know what she gets. I think she has made it very, very clear that she would be honored to serve in the Trump's cabinet. But for example, right now, we honestly, again, as far as she's concerned, I think there is again some lag, because I'm not able to.
I'm sorry about that. I hope that they can listen to you and correct it as you speak, ma'am.
Yes. I hope that gets cleared. But I think if you were asking me about Gabbard, I think if in 2020, of course, she was not very successful when she ran for her presidential campaign. But I think in the years she has exited Congress, and she has become very, very conservatively. She's one of the most popular faces, and I think she is. She would be honored, and I would just see what really she is getting. But the problem is that I'm actually getting my own audio back.
And I can understand that. I'm sorry about that. I think maybe it's because of you being in Poland. But we hope that we could have corrected that. But thanks very much. Yeah. Thanks very much, Ms. Dr. Swasti Ra. Thank you for joining us and, throwing light on different picks of US President-elect Donald Trump. Now let's move on to our next story. India's President Draupadi Murmu, who is on a tour of Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. She has reached Daman and Diu. In fact, she's reached Daman, where she was received by Praful Patel, who is the administrator of the Union Territory of Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. Well, the President visited the aviary at Daman, which is spread over 2.34 hectares, which showcases over 600 rare and exotic species of birds from across the world. And she was delighted to know that the birds in the aviary are in fact provided an environment similar to their native habitats. She also visited the Government Engineering College there, where the students greeted her and showcased the model of the college. Later, the President visited the exhibition of the NIFT campus. Students gifted her a shawl and a portrait of Lord Jagannathji. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed an election rally in Chimur, which is in Maharashtra's Chandrapur district, and the state will be going to the polls on the 20th of November. The election will be held in one phase. The Prime Minister said that the BJP's manifesto would act as a pledge for Maharashtra's development.
ये संकल्प पत्र में लाड़की बहनों के लिए, हमारे किसान भाई बहनों के लिए, देश की युवा शक्ति के लिए, महाराष्ट्र के विकास के लिए एक से बढ़कर एक शानदार संकल्प लिए गए हैं। अगले 5 साल के लिए महाराष्ट्र के विकास की गारंटी बनेगा।
In the eastern Indian state of Jharkhand, preparations are on in full swing for the first phase of the election, which is set to begin on Wednesday across 43 constituencies. Polling teams are being dispatched to their designated areas. 225 booths are deemed sensitive and they have already been staffed. The Indian Air Force helicopters have also been deployed to transport officials and election materials. 15,344 polling booths have been set up. More than 200 security companies are on duty to ensure a smooth voting process. More than 13.5 million voters will decide the fate of 683 candidates, including 73 women. The second phase of polling will be held on November 20. Votes will be counted on the 23rd of November. The air quality index of India's capital, New Delhi, continues to remain in the very poor category. On Tuesday morning, the Central Pollution Control Board recorded an alarming level of pollution with AQI of 355 in several parts of Delhi. Areas were covered in smog even after 2 weeks post-Diwali. Residents have been complaining of breathing issues amid deteriorating air quality. Let's take a look at other stories making the news. The Indian Army has reached a major milestone with Project Akash TI, which is a key component of its decade of transformation and the year of tech absorption. Well, this initiative strengthens India's air defense with a modern, agile, network-designed and counter contemporary aerial threat. This is to counter contemporary aerial threats. India's Defence Research and Development Organization successfully conducted the maiden flight test of the long-range land attack cruise missile. The test was carried out from a mobile articulated launcher at the Integrated Test Range in Chandipur district of eastern Odisha. India's Home Ministry has approved the formation Let's go back to that story then once again. India's Home Ministry has approved the formation of the first all-women battalion of the Central Industrial Security Force. The decision, aimed at empowering women and strengthening their role in national security, follows Home Minister Amit Shah's directive during the 53rd CISF Day celebrations. And we also have, coming up, in fact, we have Pankaj Adwani. Pankaj Adwani, in fact, has won the World Billiards title for the 28th time. This is his 28th world title, in fact. He's won 18 World Billiards titles, and the rest have been in snooker and other formats. You're watching DD India News. I'm Mark Lynn. Well, Germans are known to be on time, at least that's the stereotype. In real life, however, things look quite different, and especially so when Germans are traveling by train. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Bahn, and he joins me now from Berlin. Lars, well, the Deutsche Bahn rail service has been criticized for years. How bad are things really?
Thanks for having me. Well, from personal experience, I can actually say that I did take a train pretty much through all of Germany just last week, and I did arrive in Berlin on time. However, the train was totally overcrowded, and even worse, my train was a bit of the exception indeed. I have been on many trains over the past few years that have been delayed not only by a few minutes, but by up to 2 hours. Deutsche Bahn being famous for its delays and its inability to meet its schedule. Now, a part of that is because the company has long failed to invest, and as it does that now, it's been hitting a bit of a snag. Deutsche Bahn had been looking for a supplier for its next generation intercity trains, the so-called ICE 5. And nobody actually responded to the call. Now, there aren't too many companies, of course, able to make those trains. There's pretty much Siemens and Alstom, but they haven't put in a bid for the trains that were expected to be 400 meters long with room for 1,000 passengers each. They were meant to go at least as fast as 300 kilometers an hour and offer level boarding. All not unheard of, but tricky to do for many technical reasons. For now, Deutsche Bank has rescinded its procurement.
Well, Lars, also that's not all of the problems of Deutsche Bahn, because I've heard that the cargo business is also experiencing difficulties. Is that the case?
Yes, indeed, and it has actually for a long time. The rail services cargo unit has had deficits for years, to a point where for every cent they are booking in revenue, they're also booking a loss of 10 cents. That has traditionally been balanced by the Deutsche Bahn's head operations, but the Bahn being a state-owned company, that has amounted to subsidies, illegal subsidies, as the EU has long said. So the company was asked to make changes, and it had an idea together with the federal government. Berlin, that was the idea, would pay subsidies to any multi-wagon cargo train, not just those run by Deutsche Bahn. That would not be illegal then, and it would help the company, as it does indeed run most of those trains. Now, the deal had been made with the current federal government, but with that government being out of commission, it is unclear how this deal could still be made now, and Brussels had said that if there was no plan, that DB Cargo would likely have to be sold.
Well, thanks a lot, Lars Holter from Deutsche Bahn. But, you know, the International Monetary Fund's Pakistan mission chief, Nathan Porter, on Tuesday opened unusual talks with Pakistan over that $7 billion bailout, which was approved by its board in September. The finance ministry and sources have said so. And the unscheduled visit of the IMF mission and talks, they begin with a meeting, the country's finance team, and they are also early for the first review of the IMF's extended fund facility, which is due actually in the first quarter of 2025. So this is an early review of what's happening in Pakistan by the IMF. A young Afghan student who has studied in India for 7 years while completing his doctorate from South Asia University on an MEA scholarship has agreed to function as a diplomat in the Afghan consulate. According to the official MEA sources, there is a large Afghan community based in India which is in need of consular services. However, more staff is therefore required to effectively service the Afghan nationals currently residing in India. A young Afghan student who the MEA is familiar with and who has studied in India for 7 years while completing his doctorate from the South Asian University on the MEA scholarship has agreed to function as a diplomat in the Afghan consulate. As far as his affiliation or status is concerned, he is an Afghan national working for Afghans in India. As regards the issue of recognition, there is a set of processes for recognition of any government, and India will continue to work with the international community on this issue. The High Commission of India in Sri Lanka also participated virtually in the unveiling of the Prasar Bharati website. Members of the Indian diaspora joined from the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in Colombo to watch the live stream of the website launch. Pravasi Bharatiya Samman awardee Kumar Nadesan, along with prominent members of the Indian diaspora including Kaushik Udeshi, Kuzaima Jafirji and Kishore Reddy. They have attended the live streaming event.
I've been chosen to represent Sri Lanka for this occasion, and I'll be going and attending it for the first time. I'm very excited. I'll be meeting and interacting with the diaspora worldwide, and also I'll be visiting the city of Bhubaneswar for the first time, and I'm very keen to enjoy the culture and the sights of India.
I'm really happy to hear about the PBD registration website that was started today. One thing that I always appreciated in various Pravasi Bharatiya Divas celebrations was bringing together all the non-resident Indians as well as the people of Indian origin, overseas citizens of India, everybody joining together and experiencing India and sharing the thoughts and the principles of Viksit Bharat. That is primarily the topic this time.
My grandfather migrated here in 1900s, so we are just clocking our 100th year. I've visited 3 or 4 PBDs before, and every one of them has been an experience excellent on culture, excellent on the interaction that people take, and enjoyed the meeting of people, meeting of all our old friends, and it's been a pleasure. To see the change India is going through has been an amazing experience. But more than that, it's a long journey for India. I think it has changed so much, it has grown so much. PBDs have grown so much, and every one of them has become better and better. It's going to be a great experience to come to Bhubaneswar. Orissa has got special attention in that sense that Orissa has got special roots for all the Sri Lankans here. Original Ceylonese are considered to be from the eastern part of India, and I think all that will add up to the beauty of what PBD will offer all of us. I'm looking forward to this event immensely.
In Sri Lanka, preparations for the general elections are also underway as the island nation prepares to vote to elect 225 members to their parliament. Polling will commence at 7 in the morning local time on Thursday and end at 4 in the evening at over 13,400 polling stations. Speaking to the media, the chairman of the Election Commission, R.M.A.L. Ratanayake, said that counting of votes will commence at 4:15 p.m. local time. In Nepal, Hindus are celebrating Hari Bodhini Ekadashi on Tuesday, which marks the awakening of Lord Vishnu from a 4-month slumber. The celebration highlights the deep bond between humanity and nature. A musical evening of Shama Sangeet by Bangladesh's national poet Qazi Nazrul Islam was held at the Indian Cultural Center in Dhaka. India's High Commissioner to Bangladesh, Pranay Verma, highlighted Nazrul's role in strengthening cultural ties between the two countries, noting that his devotional songs offer a powerful connection with the divine. Some sports news now, and Pankaj Adwani. Well, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has extended a heartfelt congratulations to the billiard star Pankaj Adwani for winning a record 28th world title in either billiards or snooker. This is a billiards title. On Saturday, the ace Indian cueist Pankaj Adwani clinched a historic 28th world title, defeating England's Robert Hall 4-2 at the IBSF World Billiards Championship in Doha. The Prime Minister took to social media platform X to congratulate Pankaj Adwani for his exemplary win. He said, and I quote, "Phenomenal accomplishment. Congratulations to you. Your dedication, passion and commitment are outstanding. You have time and again demonstrated what excellence is. Your success will help keep inspiring upcoming athletes." Wonderful achievement by an athlete who's just dominated the sport for years. He's only 39 years old and he's won 28 world titles. The Indian women's hockey team edged past South Korea 3-2 in a thriller at the Women's Asian Champions Trophy in Rajgir in Bihar. The home team dominated the proceedings in the first 30 minutes and went up 2-0 thanks to goals from Sangeeta and Deepika. Korea bounced back in the third quarter, making it 2-2. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Thanks for watching, and if you can also share your thoughts on the news of the day. Those of you on the go, you can get the latest news and updates from DD India's mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code and download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lin. From all of us here in Delhi, thank you very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.